Hey everyone, this is Stacy with SF Johnson Consulting and Construction Services. And in this series of videos and presentations, we're going to call out a lot of attention to division number 5, which is the metals division. And there's a lot about that I feel we need to discuss and talk about. That if you are in construction and you have any type of metals, right? You perform scopes of work on any type of metals. This is where you're going to find your information in the specifications. And so for this presentation, it's 7 weeks and it's very detailed. And what we're going to do, I've broken everything down in modules. And the beginning module today, we're just going to go over some basics and what the class is all about. And this is free to all of my YouTube subscribers. So please, if this is something you're interested in and this is your scope of work, I help my clients become more technical, which becomes, I guess that helps them become more detailed in what they're doing. And so if that's something you want to do, you're out there and you do this kind of work, that's only going to help you exceed in your current job that you may have. But again, if you are a self-performer, you own your own business, stuff like this is invaluable for you because you want to be able to be competitive. And knowing what you're doing and knowing every aspect of what you're doing is going to help you do that. So make sure you join, subscribe, take a class. You can email me any question at any time at education@sfjohnsonconsulting.com. That way, just let me know what you need and I will make a presentation here and as well as make a special class just for you. And that's definitely what I do. Most of my classes are one-on-one. And so I just hash it out with you directly, show you what you need to do to be more proficient, understand what you're doing more, get your man hours the way you're supposed to. And my classes are a year long. So you sit with me for a year. And by the end of that, we've done a lot and you've learned a lot. Okay, so what is the metals division and why do we look at the specifications? And that's what's important. Okay, so the metals division is division 5 and the specifications are the written words that go with the construction documents. And so, you got to go through those first because it's going to give you all the details, means, methods, and materials, going to give you details about the way you're supposed to do the job, all the details of what they want you to do in terms of the GC and the owner, really, in terms of your scope of work and how they want you to perform it. And all the written words, that's what the specifications are for. And so I always tell my students, read through your scope of work in the specification, take notes, excuse me, and then you use that information when you are reviewing the construction documents. And that's the only way to do it. All right. So in this module, or in the series of modules, module number 1 is today, the introduction to division 5 and what that's all about. Okay. Division 2, what I'm going to show you is how we go from the specifications, or division 2, module 2, how we go from the specifications to reading the plans and how they relate to each other. So that's going to be week 2 of this presentation. And over time, we'll put them all together and you'll be able to buy this package and keep it for your own and add it to your library. So that's module number 2. Module number 3, estimating and sourcing materials and your metals. So how, depending on if we're doing structural framing or non-structural framing, the takeoffs are different. Where do we look? So this is a different kind of specifications class where I extend to how you use them based on what's in the specifications. Okay, so we'll go over all of that and how to properly determine your labor. You'll have an opportunity to purchase one or all of my man-hour calculators or a full estimating spreadsheet for that scope, which makes things so much easier for you, and it assists you in determining proper man-hours. If you don't have your man-hours right, you're really shooting yourself in the foot from the very beginning. You don't know how long the job is going to take, And so you're pressured to hurry up in an unreasonable amount of time, or you're taking too long, okay? And you shouldn't. This is all how I feel today. Well, no, if you want to finish a job in 30 days and you have so many people, so many man hours need to be completed every day. And so that's part of this class too, okay? And what's best practices for you to source your material? Now, if you can't get everything from Home Depot. The higher up you go on the scale, the more you're going to need, the less efficient it's going to be for you to get everything from a Home Depot kind of situation. And so what's the best practice for you? And we go over that. So, Module 4, the different type of structural metals. Depending on what you're dealing with, you may have to price that based on the pound. Okay, and I'll show you how to do that. Non-structural, structural metals. What are the safety? Go into little safety considerations. Okay, all based on the individual divisions. Okay, and innovations, things they're doing now. Just talk a little bit about recycled materials because that's in the specifications. Prefab, fabricated metals, how we do that, how you need to think about that. Energy efficient. Okay, and now our 7th module, which is our last, we're going to look at a set of plans and relate that to, okay, when we're talking about this scope of work and the specifications, where's that in the actual construction documents? And what detail do I need? How do I need to be able to look at that? Because again, metals is a big thing. And now we're going to go over the individual the actual master format. Okay, so division number 5, metals. Okay, and so as you know, the specifications are the written documents that go with the construction project. If that part of the specifications are not part of your actual project, then pieces and parts of the master format will be missing, right? This is a master format, and if you would like a copy, just Google it. You'll find a PDF of it. I don't have to send it to you. If you're my student, you have a copy of it, okay? And if you want me to send it to you, I will, but it's probably easier for you to download it in 5 seconds nowadays. But master format is everything. And so when we're talking about the metals, this is how they break it down. So if this or whatever subsection, they have sections and they have subsections. And again, these are the written words that go with whatever the reference is. It's as if it's a book, right? But what we're not seeing are all the words in between the chapters, all the explanations, because this is just the outline of what is contained in the specifications for the metals. And so you have to think, for a construction project, there's all kind of metals. Okay, so how do they break it down? First, the maintenance of metals. And so if that's a part of your scope of work, that's going to be where they'll give you information about that, right? They're going to tell you all about that and how they want you to do it, how they want you to perform the work. Okay, now in this section, we are going to talk about the details of the metal specification, what is, what's in the full master format, and kind of just have an overview and explain things. And if you have any questions on any of this information, make sure you email me at education@sfjohnsonconsulting.com. So in the first part, we kind of gave a full introduction of what this 7-part class is going to entail. And so now let's go over the actual master format with reference to the metals, Division 5, and how it's broken down. And so remember, if you have, if any of these items and sub-items are part of your project, it will be listed and, it'll give you the information you need. So just note that the way that the master format outlines everything, 3 2-digit numbers. Sometimes the last set of zeros is left off. For some reason, I'm not sure. So sometimes you'll see with 3 sets, sometimes you'll see it with 2. But again, this is a standardized way that they list everything in a project in the specifications. And so anywhere you go, you'll see the metals division, and that's any metal that is in the project. And so we'll go over in detail here how they break it down. All right, so Division 5 is metals. So Division 5050100, there they talk about the maintenance of the metals. So maintenance of structural metal framing, maintenance of metal joist, maintenance of metal decking, okay, for cold formed metal framing, metal fabrications, decorative metals, and historic treatment of decorative metals. So if any of those are your scope of work, you'll see that number. If you're doing part of the scope is the maintenance of that. If you're doing like a service contract for, a historical facility, and this may be part of your scope of work for the contract. And so maintenance of metal fabrications, 050150. Well, under that, it'll give you all the details or all the specifics, right? So remember, this is just an outline of all of the items that comprise this particular division and subdivision and how they're broken down. Okay, so 050300, conservation of treatment of period metals. And so I'm thinking those are, again, for that are historically old buildings that they want to preserve and things of that nature. This is how they're showing you that. Okay. Common work results for metals, selective demo for metals. So giving you all the details, schedules. Okay. So if you have, beams, new construction, you have some columns and beams where the schedule will be in 05, 06, whatever. And the schedule is just a list of all the different ones they'll mark it. They'll give you all the details, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Schedules of metals. 050600. 0508, commissioning of metals. Okay. 0510, structural metal framing. Okay. And 13, structural stainless steel. Okay. So all of the different metals of every denomination that has anything to do with metals, wire rope assemblies, structural cabling, if you're doing bridges and those types of things. I've done a takeoff for a structural bridge, and man, that's some crazy stuff to look through the details on how all of those things are created, and then try to give a price to that on something that's totally like you got to take it apart piece by piece and give it a price. It's very informative and very creative and most of all informative to see how a bridge and the cabling for a bridge is actually constructed. Is just crazy. All right. Rod assemblies, tension rods. Okay, depending on, what you got to go so far deep under the ground, or if you're digging at the beach or something like that, there's a lot of stuff for truss, cable truss for bridges as well, the tension rods and structural rods. Very interesting stuff to see if you've ever had a chance to look at a set of plans that are like that. All right, so look, metal joists, metal decking, cold formed metal framing, structural metals, every type of metal that you could think of, okay, is in 05000000. Okay, metal floor, metal plates, metal whatever, metal grating, and then metal specialties, metal balconies, decorative metals. Okay, and then 6 are woods and plastics. Just as detailed as metals, right? Because whatever's wood or plastic is going to be in that division. Okay, and so, again, the metals division, its job is to give you, or any of the divisions, okay, in the specifications, its job is to give you all the details about the means, the methods, how the owners, GCs intend for you to perform the work. And you're always going to read the specifications first, and then you're going to do what it says. Now, in the last section for members only, I'm going to have, or any of my member spaces, students or clients or any of my students, I'm going to have a third video or a third section to this video where I will look at an actual set of plans, the actual specifications, and go in between the two to show you how it works in real life. All right. So this is Stacy with SF Johnson Consulting and Construction Services. Any questions at all about this or any other material, please email me at education@sfjohnsonconsulting.com. Make sure you like, join, subscribe so people that are interested just like you will have an opportunity to find me and get awesome information as well. I hope your 2025 is starting out well. I'm trying to change stuff up, make it better, make it more relevant. And please, any suggestions, I always take from you guys. Thank you very much for all of the subscribers. Just a couple more before I can get to 1,000, which would be awesome for 2025. But I thank you very much for everybody in the nice comments. I'm helping a lot of you guys out there, and I just wish I would have started this sooner. So talk to you soon. See you soon, and take it easy.